Here's a question for you. What if the most important part of this war wasn't military? What if while the world was watching drone strikes and missile exchanges and carrier groups repositioning across the Persian Gulf, while analysts were counting sorties and tallying up battle damage assessments, the most consequential happening was something that none of the cameras actually could catch, something that no defense contractor has a budget line for, something that almost every Western commentator is professionally unequipped to even notice. What if the real war was theological? What if Operation Epic Fury was, in point of fact, a thoroughly religious war? And I want you to sit with that for a moment, because I think it's the key that unlocks everything else. When the Iranian Supreme Leader Khamenei was killed on the first day of the strikes, the Western press treated it as a political event, right? The Supreme Leader's gone, there's a power vacuum now, there's successor dynamics, there's a geopolitical realignment, all perfectly reasonable things to analyze, but all completely missing the main point. Khamenei was not primarily a political figure. He was a theological one. His authority didn't derive from elections or from military force alone or from economic performance. The legitimacy of his authority actually derived from a specific theological claim, one that held that a supreme religious scholar must be the one to govern the Islamic State in the absence of the hidden Imam. Now, many people are unaware that Shiite Islam believes that the last great teacher and ruler of Islam, the 9th century Imam Muhammad al-Mahdi, never died. He's still living, but he's entered a state of temporary hiddenness. And the Iranian Ayatollah has been ordained by God to rule in his place until he appears again. That doctrine is the entire architecture of the Islamic Republic. It's not the roof of the building, it's the foundation. And when you strike the foundation, the building doesn't just change leadership, it faces an existential theological crisis. And that crisis, right, whether the hidden Imam's governance can be maintained by way of an Ayatollah, that is the war that the Western press missed entirely. You see, most of Shiite society for the last 1,000 years has largely stayed out of politics, waiting for the hidden Imam to return. But Ayatollah Khomeini overthrew the Shah back in 1979 explicitly with a political theology where the Ayatollah rules in the place of the hidden Imam. If that rule is crushed, then the entire theological project implodes with it. So this is why secular analysts consistently fail to see this layer and why it matters so much. You see, Western political science was built deliberately and self-consciously on the assumption that religion and politics can be separated. That assumption has very deep roots. It can be traced through the Westphalian settlement in the 17th century, through the Enlightenment of the 18th century, through the rise of liberalism in the 19th century, through the entire architecture of modern social science in the 20th century. The whole enterprise was designed to explain politics without reference to theology, to bracket the sacred, to treat belief as a private variable that doesn't affect the equations of power. That assumption worked reasonably well for explaining European and American politics in the 20th century, but it catastrophically fails the moment you try to apply it to civilizations where the sacred and the political have never been separated, where they've never even been considered separable. Iran is one of those civilizations, so is much of the Sunni Islamic world that's risen up against it.